Is it working? I have no idea if this setup's gonna work, but we're gonna go for it. I have not made a YouTube video in about a year and a half, but I found a topic that I think would be really good to talk about. 5 things I wish I knew before I moved from Los Angeles to Indianapolis. So for those of you who don't know, I actually grew up in Los Angeles and lived there till I was 18 years old, then decided to go to college out here at Purdue University up in West Lafayette, Indiana. So that was a big shift for me. And I think a lot of people can relate or are curious about what it's like moving from a big city to a smaller Midwestern city. So to start off with, the first thing for me was actually the physical city itself was very different than what I was used to. So I'm gonna try to give you guys a visual representation of the difference between both cities right now. So on my screen right now is the entire Indianapolis County. And at this zoom level, you can see you got the main city down here, and then on the outskirts, it's a lot of farmland, and it's not super dense. And if I scoot over to the exact same distant zoom, but of Los Angeles, it doesn't even have enough screen to show the entire city. I have to scroll down to see the rest of all of the buildings. Now I know that's outside of the county or whatever, but what I was used to growing up was a place that was so dense with city buildings. So that being said as well, if I go into the downtown, this is the entire downtown area, or at least the center of it. Not a lot of buildings, not a lot of tall buildings at least. And even though LA is not known for its skyscrapers, it still has a lot more than Indianapolis does. This was a big shift for me because it immediately felt like there was just less people around, which was weird. I think there's a good side and a negative side to that depending on who you are. And I think it's really important that wherever you're looking to move to matches sort of what you want out of life. So for me, Los Angeles is a very congested, very chaotic, very stressful place to live. And although I love a lot of things about LA more than here, living here definitely doesn't have that level of congestion, traffic, chaos all around you at all times. So that's a big plus for me going from a bigger place to a smaller place. Now, the second thing that a lot of people are probably wondering about, and this is very true, the weather. Now, this might be more specific to mine because I grew up in California, which is known for its fantastic weather year-round, to Indiana, which I would say is probably not known for its weather. That was a big change for me. And I noticed this when I went to school, not now that I live here and I work here, but when I went to school, the first winter absolutely kicked my ass because I've never experienced snow before in a real way. I've never lived in snow. I'd visited, the mountains in California and stuff like that, but I've never actually had to go through walking to class, shoveling snow off your car, scraping ice off your car, all of those sorts of things I never dealt with, and it is brutal. But the biggest part about that for me was not even how cold it got or how much snow there was, but the fact that it got cloudy for about 8 months out of the year. I was not used to not seeing the sun that long, so that was a huge thing I had to get used to, and it was very strange, and it still is. So I would not say that weather is a plus, except the fall season and the spring season here are fantastic. Because in California, we don't get a lot of change of seasons. It's kind of just like hot, and then it's warm, and then it stays like that the rest of the year, and then it goes back to hot. It doesn't really ever get freezing cold there. And number 3 is actually the people here. I feel like LA is kind of known for its demographic of people. Everyone wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to be famous. There's a lot of fake niceness in LA, which I've noticed, is that it's a very surface level, polite place, but the people really don't give a shit about you. Whereas when I moved to Indiana, the first thing I noticed was actually how genuinely polite people were. For the most part, everyone holds doors for people. People aren't afraid to say hi to strangers. There's like a general demographic of people that are just really polite. So number 4 is going to be the amount of stuff to do. And I think this is a big one that a lot of people are curious about because Los Angeles is a city that I don't think you could do everything in before you die. And Indianapolis is a city where I think if you gave yourself 2 weeks, you could do everything that's here. Now, that being said, that does not mean that it's a bad place to go to. And that doesn't mean it's boring all the time. It's just very different with how much stuff there is to do. And don't get me wrong, there's some great stuff to do in Indianapolis. There's some really good parks, really good activities, fantastic bars downtown, actually, good music, a lot of good concerts, sports games, events that go on in the city. Back in March, my girlfriend and I went to the Comic-Con that was in town, which was surprisingly big, but the food is actually really good here. The drinks are fantastic. The main street that I prefer is called Mass Ave, and it's absolutely loaded with restaurants and bars. It's a fantastic place to go visit. But I will say it was definitely an adjustment moving from Los Angeles to here because I was used to so much stuff to do all the time. And after moving here, I had to kind of look for it a bit more. Now, the last thing I want to get into is the cost. And when I say I wish I knew this before, I actually meant I wish I really knew how much cheaper it was here. So obviously everyone knows that bigger cities are going to be more expensive than smaller towns or smaller cities. And I came from Los Angeles, which is notably one of the more expensive places in the country. So I knew it was going to be cheaper to stay here, and I figured I might as well do that at least for a little bit after school to try to save some money. But man, it is so much cheaper than I thought it was. The first apartment I was in after I graduated was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, kitchen, in-unit laundry. We had about 1,800 square feet of space, a balcony, included garage. The building was 5 years old, basically brand new, very highly rated. It was a great experience, and it was $1,400 total. So me and my roommate were paying $700 each for almost 1,000 square foot of space each, our own bathrooms in a building that was 5 years old. It was honestly so cheap, I couldn't believe it. It was a great time too. Then a year after that is when I bought the place I'm currently in. And that's right, I bought it. And maybe this is a topic for another video, but I bought this house 2 miles outside of downtown, renovated completely from the studs up only 2 years ago. And I bought this thing all in for $245,000. And I can break down numbers about how I swung this in some other video, but the fact that I could buy a brand new renovation for that amount of money with, by the way, 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and my own 2-car garage outside, the numbers just blow me away. And when I see this on paper, I can't even understand how that's even possible. But one interesting thing I found though is that in doing a lot of the real estate activities I do on the side, a lot of the investors here are actually from Los Angeles also. And they were thinking the same thing. They can't buy in Los Angeles because it's so expensive, or any big city for that matter. But smaller big cities like Indianapolis are very affordable to buy into. And you see a lot of things happening in a city like this where there's growth, new restaurants, a younger demographic of people moving in for the same reasons I just explained. And buying in a city like this might be a good move in the future when more and more people do the same thing and home values appreciate. But either way, Indianapolis is a fun place to be. It's super cheap, weather's not great, but the demographic of people are really nice, and it's a very big difference from coming from a big city like I did. So far, I've definitely enjoyed it. I'm still in my younger years, so I'm definitely looking to make a move potentially soon. Not a specific place in mind, but just anywhere. I feel like it's worth it to try to experience things. So if you're considering moving from a bigger city to a smaller area for financial reasons or just because you want to, I'd say give it a shot. For me, it was a great learning experience, and I don't regret a single moment of living here. But hopefully that helps. I want to try to share a little bit more about real estate, a little bit more about my lifestyle, and also how I deal with my incredibly severe ADHD while doing all this. Yeah, hopefully this video brought some value to you. Hopefully it answers some questions. So if you do like it, definitely make sure to hit the thumbs up. If you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. The more engagement I see like that, the more I want to make more videos for you guys. So I really appreciate it. But that's it for today. Till next time.